Alright, hey guys, welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to finally go over my 4 years of ownership with this car. So I purchased this car in May of 2016, and it only had 6,000 miles, and funny enough, I actually bought this car in Salt Lake City, Utah. I had it shipped to New Hampshire, where I live, and that was quite a venture. It was the cheapest one that I could find with the midnight blue paint, and of course the lighting package with the SE trim. So the SE trim of course comes with the sunroof, the leather seats, the Fender audio, and it's a must in my opinion. You need that Fender audio. It's such a must. So the reason why I purchased this car in Salt Lake City, Utah was simply because this was one of the cheapest ones in the nation. And that was in 2016. I paid around $22,700, another grand in shipping or something like that. So it brought the total around, $23,500. Not a terribly bad deal for a car with only 6,000 miles and only being a year old with one owner. The car was completely stock, and it only had some minor damage, one being a bit of curb rash on the passenger side wheel. However, the wheels were swapped within a year anyway, and I was planning on swapping them, so it really wasn't a big problem for me. As you guys may know, the car has been involved with one collision, which was very unfortunate, made me extremely upset. It was 1 year into, I didn't own this thing for a year until it got hit, and that was about 3 years ago, and the car got hit in a parking lot. So I brought it to a specialized custom bodywork place, and they match my paint perfectly, as you guys can see. So the fender was repainted and the bumper was repainted, and honestly, you can't even see a difference. It's amazing the technology and everything that goes into really making this paint match, because it looks so darn good. And I think another way I can maybe show you, it's a little dark, but yeah, I mean, look at that. The paint is just unbelievable. So he did a great job, and the bodywork is perfect. Obviously, there wasn't much damage in the first place. This was just scuffed in. I had to get a replacement headlight. Fortunately, this was only I shouldn't say fortunately. It's very upsetting and happening in general, but it only happened at, I think, around 10 to 11,000 miles maybe, or actually maybe even 15,000. I'm not sure, but it was like really low miles. So, replacing all this stuff at such a within a newer car, it's easy to make everything look good. So yeah, that was kind of the one big repair. One thing that also happened to this car, I might as well share it with you now, is I think this was like, I had 8,000 miles on the car, and it was winter time, and I curbed it really bad. I was doing a little bit of handbrake turns, and I whacked my Austin, not the Santiago's, into a curb. It bent whatever the boot was, or I don't want to call it an axle, maybe you call it an axle, but it caused a big problem, and that was a $1,600 dealership bill. However, when I got it fixed, it was perfect. So that was good. However, it was a lesson learned. But other than that, aside from other defects, the bodywork, it's kind of like a, I don't know, some parts of the body's a little bit lighter metal, so it's kind of easier to ding. Fortunately, I have no door dings. The only dings that I can notice now is, I got one somewhere on the roof. It's so small, and I do car detail, so, I mean, this stuff pops out to me. I know I have a little ding here. I don't know if it'll pop up. It's like right above my finger. Probably won't be able to see it. Maybe you will. I don't know. It's so small. It's literally so small. But to me, I see it because I'm a freak. You guys know that. I mean, you guys probably see some of my detail videos. You guys know how crazy I am about perfection. A little bit of curb rash right here. And I know another one right down there. Yeah, being stupid. Absolutely stupid. Could not forgive myself at that point. So yeah, so that's pretty much everything as far as exterior. A lot of people don't really care. You guys want me to get into the mechanical side because that's really where Volkswagens can be good or extremely bad. So I'll get right into that. All right, so the first thing I want to touch on, probably one of the first things that really broke on this car, the little sprayer, which I think, another one of the first things that also broke in this car had I think it's like a climate door jamb, or, you know, something that changes from hot to cold, and, OCD, and it got jammed, and, the dealership had to fix that. Fortunately, it was warranty, and it was making this annoying clicking sound when you would change it from, I think it wanted to be here, if I remember, and if you left it here, it wouldn't try to like change it, you know, you wouldn't get the clicking, but when you change the temperature to like colder, the door would try to like, you know, change to that colder temperature that was requested, and it would not work because there's some malfunction, and it would just rattle, and you had to leave it here to not want to tear your hair out. And I tell you, this was really annoying on a summer day. Other than that, that was fixed. Have had no problems since. Very fortunate in that regard. What other things that have broken? Really not much else. I've honestly had no other issues. One thing I will say is on the passenger side, the little LED strip right there, that silver piece with the red line through, that's a light, and it broke on me and it did not light up. I'm thinking probably the lens is a bit cheaper, and yeah, so that was a problem. That made me upset. That was fixed under warranty, fortunately. I've had no problems since. I obviously tell my passengers, watch out, because one of the things you want to be careful of when you get in is to not whack this, because then you can cause some problems down the road, and we don't want that. Yeah, so this is honestly one of the coolest parts in the interior, and of course it does go through the door as well, and it's light out, so you won't really be able to see that. I know I touched on a lot of this stuff already and kind of what has broken on my car, but for some of you guys who haven't seen it, I'll cover that now. The leather obviously is really, really good. It's held up super well. This is leatherette, or a pleather, and even on the seat, it's held up pretty nicely. It's a little bit of shine, but that's just general wear. I've had really no cracking at all. I've been very fortunate in that regard. I do take care of my leather. A lot of people have problems here. I don't have problems yet. I don't think I really will, because I always make sure I get in the car the right way. Kind of butt first and then swing your legs in, because you don't want to whack this. I know some people with these models have some issues getting in, and they actually nick this a little bit. However, I haven't at all. There's no issues there. But other than that, everything is pretty almost new, I would say. You know, a little bit of wear, but you know, it's, to me, I would consider that to be a little bit of wear. Some people would be like, oh, it doesn't look bad at all, but I'm a little OCD. So yeah, other than that, everything is held up nicely. This, some cars really get scuffed up here. I guess obviously when I tell my passengers or when I get in, I don't ding it up at all, but you know, this is still looking really, really good. The sound system, I've had no rattles at all. Obviously we have a speaker here. As we get inside the vehicle again, we have a speaker there, kind of as all cars usually do, and of course speaker there. The audio system in this is amazing. The Fender audio is such a must. One thing I also want to touch on is the windshield. Now the windshield, this is a weird thing to say, but in my opinion, I think just because the car's low, you know, you are more exposed to stuff, but this windshield does get chipped or pitted up a lot. It had no cracks, fortunately. I guess I could say unfortunately, because my insurance would cover it and then I'd have a new one, so that'd be clutch. You know, you do get wind rock chips, and when the sun hits it, you'll be able to see them really easily. As far as vehicle rattles, this car doesn't have any rattles, and I think still because it's a relatively newer car, or not new, but it's not that used. The only rattles I can report is it's weird. This thing rattles, or there you go. Yeah, so this thing rattles. I don't know what causes it, but it's really annoying. And that honestly happened at like 20,000 miles. That was really irritating. And then another thing that rattles too, I guess the door handle has a little squeak to it, but like, I think that's pretty standard. It's not doing it now, it's behaving. Oh, we like that. Oh, kind of, but the plastics here are a little bit cheaper. So yes, anyway, so the car's been super good to me. So other than that, the only cost that I've had to endure, aside from self-inflicted damage / other people inflicted damage, fortunately that's been very limited, but The only cost that I've really paid up as far as, you know, the standard oil change, and in fact, this car just recently had a DSG fluid flush. It was like a year ago, but I only put like 8,000 miles surprisingly on the car for like a year, and yeah, that was like last May, and now it's April. And I think that I did that at like 40,000 miles, which is where it's supposed to happen. So for any of you DSG people out there, that's when you need to do the DSG fluid flush. And I use Motul as well, or Motul, whatever it's called. That's what I used, and it's good stuff. So yeah, and that DSG fluid flush, that was around, I think, I paid, I think, $1,000 because I also purchased the DSG Tune, the TCU Tune through APR. It was $700, so I think it was like $300 or like $400 or something like that. You know, it was reasonable. So, and you need to get it done. So I got that done, of course, and that's really been my only other added cost on top of just owning this vehicle. Everything else, you know, I've paid has been modifications, gasoline, and, you know, oil changes here and there. So, yeah, so this car, as far as tune, so a lot of you guys are probably wondering about the APR Tune that I have. Now, the APR Tune, I've been tuned for probably half this vehicle's life, for me at least, and I think I did it in like January of 2018. Yeah, so I tuned this car in January of 2018, and when that happened, I just fell in love with the car. I was really getting sick of the car in 2017, and I was just sort of bored of it. The power was kind of and the performance was good, but it wasn't anything sensational. I did the stage 1, and then I waited a month, and I got the stage 2. And oh my gosh, it just changed my perception of this vehicle. And at that time too, I didn't have a resonator in. I had the Borla to the APR. So loud. It was so unbelievably loud, but it was honestly, it was wicked cool because, you know, I was sophomore in college and driving this thing around, just being so immature. In fact, no, I was a freshman in college. Totally just a freshman. I was a freshman, yeah. And it was just hysterical driving this thing around. I was being a complete tool. And so yeah, that was my experience with the my initial tuning experience and having a really loud car for the first time. It was awesome. So yeah, so other than that, the car has been tuned for, like I said, pretty much half the vehicle's life. Yeah, it's around 20,000 miles tuned, so that's you know, a decent amount of miles. I've had no problems with the tune at all. I know this is kind of more focused on the vehicle itself, but I do want to give APR that plug because I've had really no problems. With the initial tune, I had an issue with the pops and bangs. I had my fuel injectors flood, but it has since been worked out with the new beta tune, or with the new revision, so have no problems there. But yeah, so it's been really great since, and I absolutely love this car. I've absolutely loved the new APR Tune, and it's still really addicting. I love driving this car. Yeah, so costs have been pretty manageable. I've had no water pump problems. I know a lot of people have water pump problems. I don't burn any oil. It runs consistent oil temps. And yeah, it's been really good to me. This car's been so darn good to me. I wish I could like report more stuff, but honestly, I can't think of anything. The only things I can talk about are like the dumb self-inflicted, or someone, hits me. But like, other than that, the car's been really good to me. I've had no mechanical faults so far, and hopefully that stays that way, because a lot of 2015 GTIs, people question them. The turbos are they're unreliable according to people. I can say I've had APR, which everyone's like, oh, that's the one where everything blows up. Haven't had a blown turbo yet. But I do drive this thing really, really conservatively. I don't, beat on it, but I do, occasionally beat on it, and you guys see that on videos. And but other than that, the car has been super reliable. No turbo, no DSG, no engine problems. Obviously, it's been very good to me. So the only things that are broken, I've been very stupid, just dumb things. But the car has been super good. Other than that, the one other thing I want to touch on is just tires. This car goes through tires, and that's simply because probably my driving, but also the fact that it is front wheel drive. For instance, these were the rear tires that I've moved to the front, and these were the front tires that I've moved to the rear. And as you can see, these have a summer left. They've seen some spinny spins, that's for sure. So hopefully I touched on a lot of stuff that helps you guys out with, you know, if you're looking to buy a GTI. Keep in mind this car is for sale. Please DM me if you guys are interested, or comment below and we'll talk. I have listed this thing in the MQB, or the Mk7 private sales. Obviously, if you're not a member, request to be a member and you can find the listing there. I may list it on Car Gurus, I'm not sure, and I am not parting it out as of now. It's selling as is. I want to make this really easy for myself, and it's going to be probably beneficial to whoever buys it, because if you don't want these mods, you can obviously sell them yourself, and you'll probably make some good money. A lot of people said you'll make more money if you start it out, but for me, I don't really have the patience for that kind of, and that's such a terrible, stupid excuse, because I'm young and I could really use the money. But I don't know, it's you know, I want the next person to feel like, I don't want to feel like I'm trying to get, you know, pinch every dollar out of this car. I want the next person to hopefully keep the car as is and move on from it, you know, do lowering springs, maybe air suspension. That would be pretty cool. And because I think there's still a lot more to do. And I think, yeah, this is still a blank canvas for anyone. You know, a lot of my mods are OEM plus. You can obviously put some different wheels on, and some cool interior mods, steering wheel. Oh man, there's endless stuff to do still to this car, and I hope the next owner really goes far with it, because honestly, it's such an awesome car. With that said, thank you guys so much for watching the channel and staying tuned to this video. If you have any comments, leave them below, and I look forward to see you guys in the next video. Peace.